Ready? Okay, it's 12 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order of the May 11th Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. We'll begin with roll call and then move into elections. On roll call, Kathy McCoy.
Present.
Gary Hilgendorf.
Here.
Mark Helwig.
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
Elaine Smith. Here. Katie Bellinger. Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Maureen Boucher.
Out on travel.
Andy Alvarado. Jeff Johnson.
Here.
Bruce Paquette.
Here.
Doug Rotek.
Here.
John Yackel. Bruce is here. Let the record show we have a quorum. Also let the record show that this meeting has been publicly noticed to the news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes. We'll begin briefly by just introducing by name only the new members of the committee. We have Marshall Savitsky.
Yep, that's me.
Okay, who else might be new? Is that the only new person? I think. Oh, and Andy Alvarado, yes. Well, you've been to so many meetings this week. You seem like old hat already. Okay. I will now open the floor for nominations for the position of chair. Once the chair is elected, he or she will conduct the elections for the vice chair. A person receiving a majority of vote of members entitled to a seat shall be declared elected. This vote shall be taken place by voice vote. If no majority is reached, balloting shall continue, including all nominees, until a majority is reached. So at this time, I open the floor for nominations for the position of chair. Do I hear any nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate Kathy McCoy as chairperson.
Okay, we have a nomination for Kathy McCoy. Do we have any other nominations for the position of chair? We have no one online, correct? Last call for nominations? Hearing no other nominations, I call for a unanimous vote for the position of chair going to Kathy McCoy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Do I put that in the minutes, Kathy? Motion carried. Kathy, would you like me to conduct the vice chair, or would you like to do that?
If you want to, go ahead.
Okay.
You've got this down.
All right, we'll then open the floor for nominations for the position of vice chair. Do I hear any nominations?
Yeah. I'll nominate Mr. Savitsky if he's willing to be vice chair.
Well, we didn't ask Kathy, so we can't ask him. He just got nominated.
Okay, we have one nomination for Marshall Savitsky. Do we have any further nominations for the position of vice
I
chair?
would like to, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant,
say no?
No, what do you mean?
or Lieutenant Johnson? Do we have any other nominations for position of vice chair? Last call for nominations for vice chair. So this as a voice vote, so I guess maybe raise hands so that I can count at that time. So could I see a raised hands for the vice chair position going to Marshall Savitsky, please?
I mean, they're both good people.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And so then
Yeah.
also raise hands for the position going to Lieutenant Johnson, please. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's not me.
6, 7.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Congratulations. I will now turn the meeting over to the
I was
chair.
just gonna say, you've been such a valuable asset and you've been on the committee so forever.
Ever.
It's a big plus, it really is. Okay, moving on, we have public comments. Do we have anybody online?
No.
And nobody in the audience, so I guess we can move on. Approval of the minutes of the last Cjcc meeting. I think everybody has a copy of those and has read them. Any correction changes? I have a motion to approve those.
A second.
I have a motion to approve the minutes as printed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have also the draft minutes of the work group meeting that we had. Anybody have any questions about the work group or the meeting that we had?
What's the next one?
We were going to determine that after today's meeting.
Okay.
Because we were going to figure, we were going to try to maybe stagger those, so at this meeting, then maybe in 2 weeks, we meet the work group. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve those. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Opioid settlement and work group update. So I don't know, Gary, you want to handle this?
We just met and sounded like they're still not exactly sure when they're going to get the funds. And they're not a huge amount of money, so I guess we're kind of in the waiting game.
We had talked about a couple focuses at that work group. Seems to come out everywhere is the need for a residential treatment center in-house in northern Wisconsin somewhere. I think Gary had reached the idea of possible collaboration with like Washburn County or some other adjacent counties, because everything is far away. I mean, we do not have anything. We also talked about the need for mental health counseling, whether it be through the jail on a basis where the increase for, going forward, basically, or also through health and human services or other sources in the community. I know the lieutenant was talking about his wife is a mental health counselor, and they can't get enough people. It's a crisis everywhere. There isn't enough mental health counseling available for the need. So those were kind of two things that were kicked around. I don't know, I'm sorry, if you have any more information. I think you said the opioid settlement was looking at about $768,000, but they had not confirmed that yet.
Yeah, I can look up the exact number, but it's just say 750 is in the
Okay.
ballpark. That's the current working number. They said that amount could change because they have to adjust. The attorney's fees might go up or down, and make it more or less. And then timeline, where they're at now is they had to hire or appoint a national settlement administrator. And that person takes over now, bringing the funds in from the distributors and Johnson & Johnson, and then getting them out to the government units that are getting the funds. So they're hoping the third quarter, you start to see some of that.
Yes.
Andy, is that the total amount then, or
That's the total amount, and that would be
is it gonna be
over
spaced over several years then, or
18 years.
18 years?
Yep. But the counties association is working on an alternative to that, working with finance people to pay out a larger chunk of that, like selling your settlement and then taking more of the money.
So, I mean, keeping that in mind, kind of when we were talking about things too, if we're going to spread this out for a long period of time, what services would we recommend supporting with that money? Residential treatment in-house. We also talked about the old Oasis building that's now being used as the Veterans Center, and
And some public health things go on
there
there.
was a lot of shuffling around in terms of where that's going to be and what's going to happen with that building ultimately. And I don't know if anybody has any better answers. I think, it's been floated lots of different ideas with the new court, facilities that are coming in. So it's an ideal building, it's set up basically. It was a residential treatment for juveniles, so it is set up correctly basically, but I guess they remodeled it again now, so we're good.
They're remodeling it right now.
Yeah, every time we get it, it gets remodeled.
So is it being used, what did you just say to me? It was also being.
Oh,
used-
public health uses part of it, and
Well,
then
actually-
the veteran service has an
Actually-
office in there now.
I don't think public health, are they using any of it? They were done using it. There's in a treatment center, the other half of it is used for counseling. And that's not us that's doing that counseling, that's housing.
Is that still going on, or, because I thought that was
I think so, somebody's renting half of it, right?
Right, yeah, and that's been-
Half of it is the day treatment.
okay.
But there's, I guess I have heard some talk that lease is up to the end of this year, and that may not continue. And the other half is veteran services and adult long-term care. ERC.
So we may not have a shot at getting back into that building.
No.
And obviously, construction cost of a new facility would be a big chunk of our settlement, not all of it out.
Well, from my understanding from some of the construction meetings, and Andy, you're sure maybe you guys know more, but
at one point it was discussed that this was going to be a temporary location for vet services. I think once construction's done, there was talk about them being in this room or some of the adjacent offices. I don't know if anything's been decided on that yet, so it might open it back up. I don't think we should give up on that option at this point.
I guess, I don't know, when is that gonna be finalized?
I'm still trying to catch up to that. I asked Gary and I visited with him and he didn't. He said it's been talked about, but nothing's ever been.
So where is the final drawings right now for the,
I think it's exterior at this point.
Yeah. I think what I've found with the new construction's all pretty well identified. Some of these other rooms, they're still open.
Yeah, our new administrator, are we gonna be getting those plans? I mean, last year we had plans and plans and plans, but now we haven't seen anything.
Okay, you want the final version?
That'd be nice.
Okay.
does anybody else have any questions about the settlement money or anything in this point?
Just to add, during our work group, we had discussed me reaching out to our current contracted mental health provider, ACH, and then I reached out to Dr. Melissa Caldwell, who's the head of Freedom Behavioral Health, which encompasses ACH. She got back to me and said that our current in-house mental health provider would probably not be able to do any more hours. However, they could potentially bring in an additional counselor if needed. We've been playing phone tag this week, just hit and miss, haven't really connected yet, but she's going to put together numbers for adding 2 hours a week, adding 4 hours a week, adding 6, so we can see what the cost would be. So, and then once I get those numbers, I'll bring them to the next workshop or work group meeting or next Cjcc meeting or both.
Right, I mean, and not to scrap the idea of a residential treatment center, but if we're looking at 18 years and over time or whatever, mental health counseling may be our focus for that money. And to get the most out of that money that we can, basically.
I wonder if that idea about partnering with other counties, that might work, because we definitely need a treatment center, I think, in Northwest Wisconsin.
Right, and other counties are getting that money.
Well, and the tribe is getting, you know, how much
Correct,
money
yes.
the tribe is getting?
Not for sure yet, but I don't think it's that much. Ours got divided separately. But I think you bring up a good point, Kathy, that we can't build a facility with that money, obviously, but maybe we can sustain it with this money over those years, because we'd have trouble within the county to come up with that money to operate it once we build it.
It's gonna be the same as like with the courthouse, I mean, in bond it to build it, but then you have to staff it and operate it, and where does that money come from? So, I think you're right, if we had a building already, that would be huge. Not more feasible.
And there is, Andy, there is ARPA money left, correct? Maybe $1 million,
$1.5
$1.5 million. And at admin, tomorrow we're going to discuss priorities of ARPA money. So there might be a place for it too. Some of it.
There's buildings, offices. and
Yeah, the thing is, that was set up it had all the sprinkling systems, it had all the codes, and if you're gonna run a residential in-house treatment center, it has a lot of red tape associated with it, and that was set up that way, so most people were jumped through already.
Where is that Oasis building?
It is out on 63 going toward Trigo.
There were Hanson Clearers.
Yeah.
That's just past that.
Okay, so we'll move on into criminal justice coordinator update.
We are going strong. We have our pretrial numbers right now total are at 85. We have 14 active on diversion. We have 2 new completions as of yesterday. We have 4 that are pending, so that's going well. Our wait list is done as of yesterday. All those contacts have been made. So we do still have some pending, waiting to get back to us. We have 21 from our wait list that we're waiting to hear back from. And out of those, we had 24 failures to report from that wait list. So being that our wait list was at almost, it was substantial, I would say 24 no contacts is not terrible. And sometimes they're contacting us still after, like, we give them a date that they have to contact us by, and sometimes they'll contact us after that. So then we'll still take them in and do their intake. but we have to move on, so we have to do that end date. So we have to be able to
Right,
move
yes,
on to
right,
other
so
people on the wait
that's-
list. Mhm.
That's really good news.
Yeah, we
You
were
guys should be
happy.
proud of yourselves,
We
right?
were very happy. Our case managers have been doing a phenomenal job.
How's it going with the office and the tribal office?
Really well, really well. I would say, I would have to look at our numbers, but I would say on average, we have 3 to 4 appointments there each day that we're there.
It's great.
Yeah.
Is that office then, excuse me, Chair. Becky, is that office then working out? You have everything you need in there? Or have they?
We weren't able to get keys, so we've been sharing one key and we've been asking, is it Al in maintenance?
Yeah,
Who's
we
in
have
ma-
that same problem,
Yeah, and
and we're there all the time.
so I'm like,
We're
there's
kind of partial. to it.
there's 4 of us sharing one key, but I mean, right, we just come back to the office, drop it off, we keep it at a point in our office, and then the next person comes and gets it when they're going out, so that's been
AJ's
our,
in charge of keys now.
so Gary did tell us that he would get us key cards, and that would be fabulous, but that will only get us into the building.
Yeah.
That doesn't get us into our office, so.
I didn't think that it would help to get you in the building because you're not a full-time employee.
Oh,
And so that's why I told Bruce I didn't think that you needed access to the building because when you arrive, the building's open.
that, so except for like yesterday, Katie, or this morning, Katie Ann got there and wasn't able to get in yet.
Wasn't able to
And
get in the building?
yeah, nobody was at the building yet. So there have been days where we've gotten there, before our scheduled 8:30 time, and we're not able to get in.
You
But
come
then
the
we just
front-
wait.
The front way though?
Yep.
Yeah?
Mhm.
That's weird.
Not a ton, but there have been days.
Anybody else have any questions? So this is the first time we have not had a wait list since,
I think since
That's
September.
great, yeah.
September. Yeah, it was a good day yesterday. We're happy.
then we'll move on to kiosk update. Don't think it's getting used, is it?
No, we had one that was using it for a while. I was on vacation last week. I had a missed call and voicemail from Michael, the guy from Precision Kiosk, and been playing catch up. I haven't had a chance to give him a call back yet, but yeah, I don't know what everybody on the committee thinks. If we're not using it, we're paying for it. And
I'm sorry, what was the kiosk for?
it's a alcohol breath test. It's the kiosk right in the entranceway of the sheriff's office there. When Diane McNamer was the CJCC coordinator, she utilized it a lot. But then after she retired, we contracted with Justice Point. Justice Point has other means of doing, different types of testing. So we tried it out. Originally, the thought was we had spoken with the judge and thought about using it for overflow when they had people on their wait list. If it was an alcohol-related offense, at least to try to get them into some type of testing. We had the one gentleman that did it, and to be honest, I think the kiosk only worked about 50% of the time for him.
Did, and then
So-
he ended up coming to our office almost daily anyway,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday to PVT at our office.
Yeah, my personal opinion is I don't think it's worth us paying for it. So I guess if everybody in the committee's all right with it and the sheriff's all right with it, I will get a hold of them and have them remove it.
I think, yeah, I mean, I guess, do we have the authority to do that, or does it have to be a recommendation to?
It's paid out of our budget, so I
You
think
have
that would,
authority to do
yeah.
it, yes,
yeah.
you do, absolutely, yeah.
Is that correct, Andy? I mean,
I was just gonna, I don't know for sure, is this kiosk, how come it doesn't get used more, I guess?
Because now that we're contracted with Justice Point, they have other means of testing, whereas before we only had one person as the CJCC coordinator, and she utilized it a lot of the time.
Does it just do the breathalyzer, or can it
It's-
be like just check-ins?
It's breath and check-in.
Doesn't use for check-ins?
No,
Judge doesn't need it, make anybody use it?
no. So, yeah, I think it was
Hasn't
in
been.
January, whenever I brought it up
Yeah.
at one of our CJCC meetings,
And I
I
think
got
I
an
did
invoice
see
for
an
200 and
email.
some bucks on it. We don't have to pay anything if it's being utilized because they get charged per test, but now that it's not getting used.
Yeah, for subsidizing, it doesn't make much sense.
Right.
Madam Chairman, I think the added thing is if we don't use it anymore, have them take it out. If we need it again, we can put it back in. I think the right thing to do financially is to take it out at this point, not using it, then we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, because I think the other thing I know it's been used for elsewhere, like, we have drug court, that's what things they have to come in. To do that.
Well, and I think the company would be more than willing if we take it out to bring it back in if we have the use for it.
Yeah, once we get rolling with drug court, if that's something that we end up doing, then yeah, certainly, I mean, the space will still be there, so.
Right, but we can use somebody else for obviously.
Yep.
Anybody else have any input on PS? Service updates? Here you got different things for us?
We're full and people graduating have got good jobs in town, and so it's all encouraging. So, yeah.
So the men's is full.
Yeah. In
You're
fact,
only
there's
taking 2 though, right?
no, there's four.
There's 4 now.
Four in there. Yep. And our new house parent is one of the graduates.
Oh, nice.
He's doing really good. Yeah. And they're-
Is that the one that was here? Talking?
No, Grant. No, Grant he's working over at the Retreat Home Center. And he's actually getting other guys that are there to come work over there too. And so they're,
That's nice.
yeah, it is. And the business community has been very supportive of, had numerous people call and all the guys right now are working. So,
People are looking for employees.
yeah, they are.
It's a different climate, yeah,
Yep.
that's good to know. So the average time of stay there now at this? point?
Well, there's a 3 month where they don't work. Well, once they get to that point, then it's 6 to 9 months. And then they graduate depending on their speed of their working through the program. And then they go out and get involved in the community. So,
And as far as, the women's, are you full over there too or no?
they were, but I think they just had someone leave and actually go out of town. So, in fact, I know they did. She went over to Rhinebeck. So that's where she's from. So she came. So she was doing really good. She had a good job. She was actually working at Tremblay's and doing very, very well. But her kids were back over at home, so she wanted to be back by her kids.
I think having an employment environment does help though too.
Yeah.
I mean, before it was like we were trying to find a place for these people to work, and now employers are, they want people. They're willing to take a risk or whatever because they want the employees, right? So I think that really has been a positive actually in terms of this. As far as the truck goes,
Yep.
the
Our
men and women's
men's-
shelters, how are
Men's
they?
and women's shelters are running, we're about half capacity, I would say. But a lot of good success stories as well. Jobs and doing well in the shelter. Could probably use a little better what's curriculum or training program. We should probably visit with Gary on what they do. Because we have people that refuse to go to the shelter, even when they're homeless. And
Well,
You
it
know, I
sounded
don't-
like, yeah, I mean, it's 0 tolerance in terms of drugs and alcohol, but people do show up and they are intoxicated or they're
Yeah.
under the influence. I know that they kind of separate just for them to kind of decompress
Yeah.
and try to get back, not kick them out of the shelter, in other words, right?
Right.
You don't want them homeless again, right?
we can house them in an emergency,
Right.
but then they need to follow the rules of
Right.
the shelter. That's difficult sometimes.
And that is a huge problem.
Yeah.
They don't really want to quit. They want to continue to use.
I went to a training recently that was drug court, I think it's drug court, Wisconsin drug court professionals or something. And I watched it online because I couldn't go to it actually, but he made a good point. He kept on stressing the point that it's a brain disease. Addiction is a brain disease. It's not, I want to quit, so I just quit. I mean, because if your brain is like your will to live, if somebody's trying to strangle you, or your hunger, if you're starving, it's that strong. Kind of an interesting way to think about it, I thought.
Gary, do you know if that gal that went to Rhineland or continued the program over there?
I don't believe so. I think she is, I don't know, but she went over there. So.
What's happening with the safety of illness? with Cjcc Wellness, is that still up and running?
Yeah, they
Everything?
lost Paul Workman. I know we relied on him a lot. Paul went over to North Lakes, I think. And so they may be down at least one or two counselors. And as you said, mental health, it goes hand in hand with addiction, and it's really needed, more mental health counseling.
And we use a treatment center in Tennessee. It was
Which is expensive.
very
Very
expensive.
Well, we talked about the nearest one, it was Ellie Phillips, right? It was down in Chippewa, I think, and then in Duluth, we have,
I don't know one in Duluth. We have Koinonia that we use in Rhinelander quite a bit.
so yeah, I think you're talking distance, right?
And they spend 30 to 60 days in the treatment facility and come back to what?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no
Transition
aftercare.
house, They went right back into the behavior that got them there. Yeah. It's just a matter of time, so.
Housing and aftercare has been a big problem for us. And I know that's a problem all over.
Housing is a huge, housing is a huge problem in this area, it's huge, right? So, does anybody else have any other community service update type things?
I also attended WITCP last week, and I'm going to go to the national, so that was the state level. I'm going to go to the national one in July, and I think that it would be really good if we had representation
I think
from
so, too.
more parties than just.
Yeah, if you're thinking about a drug court, it's great training. Are you going
It
to
is.
the addiction conference in
I'm
Nashville?
going to the NADCP, National Association of Drug Court Professionals.
We're going to Rise 22, the end of
That's,
July
yep.
in
that's the one.
Nashville.
Mhm. But I think there were so many parties there that were whole teams, and, you know, from this area, it was just me. And if Elaine was online.
And
You know,
I was
Well, you
online.
guys are a team.
And this is a collaborative
Yeah.
effort, so we need more parties to be involved.
I think Susan Austin was there. She was the only one from our wellness court who went.
Who wins?
But it's a good
So what is
conference.
the cost of something like that?
So the NADCP, I can forward you the link, the enrollment. It's, if you're a
expensive.
member, it's if you're a member, it's $7.95. If you're not a member, it's $8.95. And then of course, travel.
Is it either going to be via Zoom or video?
I would assume
I
they
don't
would
know.
have some Zoom availability. I mean, they did at the state
A lot of
level.
these, they have, you can access them even after the event where you can watch all
Mhm.
kinds of different segments that, you know.
That's true. Not sure that we can check into it though.
It's just good, like I said, if we're heading in that direction, that everybody is getting the same information, even if we process it in different ways, because it's not going to be just one or two of us doing
And I
the
think it
work.
would be really nice, like to have one of our law enforcement people, you know, a couple key spots and maybe even, you know, for you, be a great way to get out of Hayward, right? I mean, but just a couple key people, you know, would also be nice to have that with our group, yes.
They have breakout rooms, and so what we do is we split up. We don't all go to the same
That's right.
one.
That's what I didn't have a team from Justice or from Sawyer, but we had a team from Justice Point, and we split up and went to different ones.
Can you send everybody that information?
I
please?
can, yep.
I just wanted to add on to what Becky was saying, that there may be Zoom options, but what I have found over 2 decades of going to trainings is that the networking is the biggest thing that you get out of that. I mean, what are you doing here? Maybe the meeting after the training or whatever the case is, that's where you get all the best information that you can bring back. I think, just my 2 cents.
And I did make a ton of contacts there last week to go visit other treatment courts and see how they have gotten, you know, through their implementation process and all of that. So it was really good for me.
Sounds like a great opportunity, right? So,
Just learning about Sawyer County's TAD grant. I know travel to the drug court conference can be built into the TAD grant funding. It's not expensive.
Excuse me?
The county's, it's a planning grant right now, isn't
It's
it?
planning grant right now.
And I know the TAD grant, though, TAD grant monies can be used to attend the drug court conference.
You know, we're using our grant, our wellness court grant to go, and we're taking one from Cjcc. We're taking Dorothy Crust with us. There'd be 5 of us going.
Yeah, I'll send that out today because I would say if anybody is going to go, registration is, because it's in July.
Yeah, the last week in July.
So I guess I don't know from a county standpoint if there is any funds available or if 1 or 2 members were able to attend or. Okay,
I don't know what's budgeted.
I don't,
I don't know what the matching money is right now for exactly.
that would be nice to know.
Mhm.
And we can talk more about that stuff tomorrow when we
We
meet.
got lots of questions. For
Yeah.
That'd be great, so, because it really would be a nice opportunity, I think, for at least 1 or 2 other people. to attend, or Garrett, somebody who's got a lot of outside, connections in the community, or, there's a couple opportunities that would be really. So. Okay. Anybody else have anything else?
Well, I'd just like, Your Honor, could you report on the Healing the Wellness Court? And
We
how that's
have-
going, what's the future of that, I guess? 'Cause that
Yeah.
seems to be very important.
That's a big question. We have 4 months left on our grant, and Susan Austin is working on, she has a plan to have a Healing to Wellness conference because all the other Healing to Wellness courts in Wisconsin are very interested in coming to this first annual conference, and we have quite a bit of money left in our grant. And so she's put together a draft agenda, put together a draft budget, and meeting with other Healing to Wellness courts online to try to get speakers lined up and so on. And I've been trying to get in front of TGB to get approval to use the casino and the block of rooms in the hotel. And I think she's called Holiday to find out about getting a block of rooms over there. And that would be, I think she's proposing August 23rd to the 25th, maybe, just a day and a half. And I guess I'm kind of anxious, and I was talking to Tweet about it yesterday because I just need approval so she can go forward, and I have a hard time getting in front of them. But the need is there. I mean, we had a young man pass away of an overdose, I think last week, and his funeral is this week. And I mean, it's still happening. Fentanyl is mixed with everything, and it's just pretty awful. So Susan is acting as half coordinator and half case manager because we lost our case manager. She transferred. And if we get extended, if we get this enhancement grant, which we're trying to do through the grants department, or if the tribe funds the position, we want to get somebody who's trained like your case manager, so they understand that evidence-based training. And it's so important to understand that they're not there to be social workers. They're there to make sure that they toe the line and do what they're supposed to do. So we're kind of in a fragile area right now.
How many days is it one in Tennessee? Days?
July 25th through the 28th.
But that's kind of where we are with our grant.
I knew that was, I knew they were working to do an extension to it.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We're trying to get that enhancement grant from, I think it's from DOJ. Yeah. Let's see.
Well, we were talking about just in terms of overdose. I mean, I know Lieutenant Johnson was talking about, we never used to use Narcan, and now it's being used 3, 4, 5 times a week or whatever. I mean,
Fairly regular basis,
on a
yeah.
regular basis. I think. So that's just a sign of the change. And also, I think if you didn't have Narcan, how many more deaths would we be experiencing perhaps? I mean, that's.
Right. It's pretty sad.
I mean, Bruce, do you have anything related to the DA in terms of positive, negative, or moving forward, just like continuing on? Not that future agenda items. Do you have anything in particular they'd like to see? I think Lieutenant will bring us some figures on increased mental health counseling in the jail, which I personally think is very, very important. We can get another 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever it needs to be in there. that's critical at this point. So that's
agree.
one thing. Anybody else, any other future things? I mean, it looks like, Gary, you could use some expansion. I mean, you're full and now you've got people waiting, right? Yeah, and you can only handle 4 at a time. So that gets back to how can we, I mean, that's a community-based effort, but it's had being totally funded by the community too.
Yeah,
You know,
and we're
that's not
actually
even government
looking at a
money.
workshop behind there in the place of the garages to put, so they can have the workshop right there. So money's already coming in from that, from the community.
I was just gonna say, and so maybe there's a possibility to expand beyond 4 individuals, because that seems to have a huge community.
Well, the house next door, they would be willing
I
to sell
know,
it,
that's right, that's
but it needs
a lot of
tons
work,
work.
a lot of work, right? But that is something the community would probably get behind. It might be nice because they be right next to each other. You could share a lot of the facilities and in-house and stuff like that.
I was just wondering, I see those buildings, they're for sale, they're on that same side where the florist is, but before the florist shop, or is it right after the florist shop on the corner? There's an office
Oh, I
building
know
that was
what it
for
is.
sale,
Yeah.
and I always thought they would be, a good spot for extra offices of some kind.
Where Ross Realty was.
Yeah, I think so.
That Ross
That blue
Realty
building.
Station, and I think the building next to Ross Realty on the corner, right up, I think both of those
Yeah.
are for sale, actually.
I mean, it's a great location, and it's been empty for a long time, I think.
I think Jerry Ross owns both of those buildings.
You think he owns the one next to it, and the other one?
Okay.
Yeah. His wife had both of them there.
But it is, I know what you're talking about, it's a
Yeah.
good location.
Yeah, it's a good location.
Anybody else future agenda items? I think we
Is this
should, I think we
group
should
gonna
put on,
continue to meet?
I believe so, yes.
I think we should add a treatment facility somewhere on here, so we keep coming back to it, decide till we
Well, I think
decide.
for future agenda items, I think we should look at expansion of the existing, can we find some additional housing, whether it's next door of our community-based program? Because if it's up and running and it's being funded by the community and it's working, it'd be crazy not to get behind it and continue to try to, develop another building, be it next door or whatever. The community, you could do some fundraising projects pretty easy with the faith-based community, all the churches, and probably, I know our congregation, and I know your
Yeah, you
congregation, I
guys,
know
yeah.
we would, everybody would, it would be pretty easy to do, right?
And St. Joseph's is all
Joseph and
behind it.
David, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
There.
So maybe we can put that on just for further discussion for next month's agenda, expansion of existing.
And I could go
community
talk to the owners of the facility there
Yeah,
next
I know
door
who
and
they
see,
are
yeah.
too, right, yeah, so, they might be willing to sell at a pretty reasonable price too,
They told me over a year ago that they would sell.
right, to sell, yeah, and especially if they do it was for a good cause perhaps.
Yeah.
So, that's,
What do we have right currently for mental health?
8 hours a week.
and how many inmates do we have?
Well, in-house, I think we're at 79. We're in the 90s for a total.
Do you have NA in there, AA meetings going on too?
Yeah, we have all program volunteers that come in. That's all organized through Justice Point.
Good.
Mr. Burmeister still?
He is.
Yes.
I get behind him going home sometimes because he lives up 63 at about 42 miles an hour. But that's all right. It adds about 20 seconds to my drive home. It's no big deal.
Last read in his back windshield.
Yes, yep. Yep.
Okay, anybody else, any future agenda items, maybe we can get an update next month again on what's happening with the extension of.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
also on
due.
the conference, because that would be something that probably members of this committee would want to attend also. I think they were gonna do that, at least several of us.
We haven't looked at airline prices right now. I've heard they doubled.
Oh, but also when you guys are going to
Drive mileage
host
reimbursement.
here. You were talking about doing it
Oh, that one.
Right, that would be nice, because if you here.
We just rent the bus.
Right, take everybody.
Yeah, either way, driving or air.
Yeah, they're both expensive options.
All right, so anybody else in the future agenda items? Do you guys want to meet next month, or you want to skip a month and go to July? It's up to the committee as a whole. I mean, we were going every month, and then we did take a couple of breaks where we went every other month, depending on what we had going on. Any preferences?
Doesn't matter to me either way.
I personally think with where we're at with everything, we're kind of at a tipping point. I think waiting an extra month might be too long. I think we meet next month and.
I think, yeah, we're going along much
Mhm.
better than we were when we were doing that every other month thing. So I think.
Okay. All right. So do we want to set a date then for next, for June? I will be gone all of June, so.
So the vice chair.
I'm
will be
going
running the
way.
meetings.
So the vice chair needs to set the date. Right, pick out the date.
Well, if we're looking at a month, we're looking at June 8th.
Yeah.
You're looking at what day?
June 8th, Wednesday, June 8th.
yeah.
That work for everyone?
That works for me.
Sure.
So then we'll set it for June 8th at 12 o'clock.
We want to set a work group.
Yeah, I think we should set a work group too. We do the 25th, is that possible before I leave?
That works for
Does
me.
that work for you?
You know, no, I'll be on annual,
Okay,
that 23rd to the 27th, I'll be on annual.
what about like 30th, 31st,
The 30th
So the
is a
30th
holiday,
is
but the
Memorial Day.
31st I
Yeah.
could do,
31st?
I could do that.
What is the work group?
It's just an informal group that was formed to kind of explore, to make a recommendation to this committee in terms of what we think we wanted to do with the opioid settlement. You know, before, we thought we'd have a kick at it first before the county board had a kick at it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
because we've got a lot of people
It should
who
be.
are in the know here, right? It's just-
Definitely.
Because whatever recommendation this committee makes, it's just a recommendation. I mean, we don't have any power to do anything other than make a recommendation. Spend money to the county board.
I showed up the first time when I thought it was.
I
gonna
know,
be
and that
held.
was,
I
was
showed
one-
up too and
well, I thought it was, I was like, I can't be there, but it's okay. Not
I thought
everybody
we
has to be
said
there.
it, you know, and I didn't know there was supposed to be a
And then I couldn't
official
make
notice
the-
put out.
Well, then you're gonna know the crucial notice now. We're gonna set a date.
So do you set the date?
Yep, we're gonna, do you want to do the 31st then?
At what time?
What time do you guys want to meet?
At noon?
Noon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Works for me.
31st.
Is there
Anybody can come, it's
Oh, yeah.
open meeting, yeah. It was just informal, it was Gary, me,
There were about
Judge.
5 or 6
Yeah,
of us.
right.
I think.
Are we gonna run into a quorum issue if there's too many of us there? I'm just
I think
asking.
Lynn should post it that there
Oh,
may be,
I do.
she always does.
Okay,
post it. Maybe
okay,
a
so
form
we're
of
good
the
either
CCC,
way then.
right,
Okay.
exactly. And then we don't have to worry if other people want to attend, right? Okay. All right, correspondence reports, conferences. I think we've touched on a few conferences that are coming up. Any other matters for discussion? If not, then we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
is work group, is that?
That's noon also.